What's up, everyone? So we are back home in the cold of Minnesota. I know some of you are probably wondering why I didn't stay and follow along, just because the trip is very expensive, gas is very expensive, hotels are very expensive, so I figured might as well just save the money, come home so I can save some money so I can get the car ready to go again. So we made it back. It was a 2-day drive basically. Everything went good, nothing got destroyed. I got the car home and got it cleaned up, and everything appears to be okay. So I'm gonna start kind of messing with it. But I did decide to put my sick week sticker on, which you can see right there. I know maybe some of you think that it shouldn't be on there, but Justin and I worked our asses off. So the sticker deserves to be on there. Stayed up all night, 13 hours, all that nonsense. But what we're gonna do now is I'm going to take this motor apart and see what else is messed up in it. And I assume it's just gonna be 2 pistons and 2 rods most likely, but we'll find out. I also took the intake manifold off because, as I mentioned in the other video, there was shit in the intake, which there sure was. So this is exactly how it was as I took it off. You can see there's 2 big pieces right here and just a whole bunch of goo and rod or piston material, and then same thing with it in here. It's all just like that. So definitely was a good idea to take that off, and we were in the process of taking it apart, and I looked at the clock and I was like, oh man, it's just not gonna happen. We just don't have enough time. So kind of an is what it is deal, but everything's home, everything's in one piece. So I'm going to get to taking this motor apart. And I did figure out a plan for next year, or for like this coming racing season. I am going to run another stock bottom end, and I do have the one that we were putting in there, but I am not. The iron block will work, and it is a Gen 4, so there is no real issue with that, but I'm an aluminum block guy. The car is too heavy as it is, so I don't need to add the extra weight just on the iron block. But this motor will not go to waste, just for everyone to know. I'm going to take it out, and when I build the next SBE, I am going to also rebuild this one. So it'll get gapped rings, 30 and 30, just like I did in the last one. Fresh bearings all the way around. I'll probably polish up the crank, and everything will be golden on it. So I will build this one as a spare, and I just want to give a huge shout out to John Kelly over at No Name Race Cars. Let me show you his sticker here. He has a YouTube channel as well. This is him. Go check them out on YouTube. He is a badass dude, and he is actually giving me an aluminum block to use, and I will repay him for it somehow. He would not accept anything, but I'll get him back definitely. So big shout out to you, John. That means the world, because this was about the worst situation I could possibly have ran into. So big shout out to him. I'll be picking that up this weekend, I hope, and get everything to the machine shop and getting ready to go. I may try and figure out how to deck blocks myself at work, being I have CNCs at my disposal. That'll be something to come in the future, and I will talk about that more as I figure it out. But that block will get decked, cleaned, everything. I know that sounds ridiculous for a stock bottom end, but I feel like it just adds the extra bit of healthiness to a motor ready for abuse, because the one that was in it seen multiple 40 psi pulls, and it never blew a head gasket, and the head gaskets are actually in great condition, and I will show them when I take that motor that is in the car apart, because it does have those original head gaskets that came off of this motor right here. So, but in the meantime, let's get this thing apart and see what the extent of the rest of the damage is, and see maybe there's something in here that I can tell that caused it, but I'm pretty dead set on it being an injector, but maybe not. We'll never know really until we figure it all out. So let's get on that and see what we find. So we got all the main caps off, and as far as the way they look, I mean, basically you can maybe just feel a hair of a line in every one. And what the bearings actually look like, this one, oops, sorry, put them in the wrong order. That goes there. So this is number one. You can see that one definitely took a little abuse. You can feel little lines in there. Number two, maybe just a tiny bit of lines. That one feels pretty good. This one feels pretty good. This one feels pretty good. So as far as shrapnel getting into the oiling system, it really didn't go too far as these look. We'll find out what the rest of it looks like, but not bad. I believe this would all be from everything that came out. Like, this is one of the pieces that went through there. And every time I take another piece off, just more crap falls out. So definitely a lot of shit went in there, but these are not nearly as bad as one would expect for what the motor went through. It did die right away, but they actually don't look too bad. And I believe, as far as I can tell right now, this crank is most definitely salvageable. So big old plus there. We'll see what the engine builders say for sure, but my judgment looks mint. Send it again. So as you can see here, our block is now bare, and you come down, and we got a whole bunch of pistons laying here. Aside from, I wonder what happened to this guy. She looks pretty beat up, but it's kind of hard to tell, but I believe that has a small bend in it, but it's very hard to say. But regardless, that's a no-go. But all these other ones, I mean, they all look to be in pretty good shape. I will probably have them checked out, or I'll check them out myself, but I believe most of these are good. And all the bearings actually even look pretty good. I mean, maybe just a tiny bit of catch on the finger. So I mean, for what the bearings looked like and what happened to it at the end, everything seems to look pretty good. Don't mind a little bit of rust. It sat out in the rain for a couple drives home. That was not on there when we took it apart, but everything seems to be all right. This one, I believe, is the one that was this one. Oh, there's one of my head studs in there. But I believe it was this one that just barely nicked the spark plug a little bit. And then the other one is obviously the one that crashed into it pretty good. Maybe this one was part of it too that got hit a little bit. You can see just a couple dings, but as far as my opinion, probably have 5 of 8 good ones, and the rest 5 of 8 good pistons. And I think we have, let's see, what's this rod look like? I think all the rods are okay. I don't know what to think about all this marks on here, as far as like where everything kind of got smashed around. This one's not too bad, but I'll have to talk to someone about that. But other than that, that stuff looks good. If you come over here and look at the crank, like the journals on here for the rods are pretty much smooth as glass. I mean, maybe just a tiny bit of roughness, but nothing that I wouldn't expect out of a running motor. You can't really see the cam bearings, but we'll look at these ones here. I mean, that one looks okay. You can come in here and kind of take a peek down at that. Let me focus. That one looks okay. How about this one? I mean, everything seems to look pretty decent on this motor, honestly. Nothing unbelievably bad as far as bearings go, so definitely tells you right there was no bearing failures going on, because I believe that the bad bearings we see are ones that stuff got into it. But other than that, bearing failure on this car, definitely not the case. So I'm going to pop this crank out and get my ARP main studs out of there because those will get used in another block. These are the third motor these will have been in. I'll have to have someone talk to me about the block too, because you can definitely see it's been banged up around the bottom of the sleeves. I'm not sure if that's gonna affect anything as far as performance goes, but someone will have to tell me because I really don't know. But gonna take it all the way apart, and that should be about it for this one. I'll come back, talk a little more when I'm all done, but everything seems to be okay. Crank doesn't even look, I kind of expected maybe the crank would be broken, but it still spins so nice. So I don't know, not sure what to think. So there we go. Everything is apart. And you can see the bottoms of the sleeves here really took some abuse on most of them. The center too, for sure. Everything else looks to be okay. But man, them cam bearings look mint. Definitely no oil pressure issues with this boy. Which one pull before it blew up, it made 108 PSI of oil pressure. So hell yeah, brother. One important piece you cannot forget to take out of these: billet barbells. These babies are the breadwinners of serious horsepower. Oh yeah, look at that guy. Can't forget about that, homeboy. We'll pull them fuckers out. And then this motor, I will ask some people about, but I assume it's probably trashed, but we'll see. Maybe it could be sleeved into something for someone else. Not me, but for someone else. Just like that, the billet barbells are out. Best parts of every SBE is a billet barbell. I'm just kidding. I don't really think they do anything. Well, they do something. They retain the engine oil pressure, but I use billet ones because I'm a fancy weirdo. You probably don't have to, but I just like bragging about it. I don't know why. Billet, that's why. So that's about it for this engine disassembly. Thanks y'all for watching. Unfortunately, I didn't really find anything majorly telling of what happened to it. It seemed to be all the bearings were in reasonable shape. I mean, nothing I wouldn't expect from a motor that had a ton of shrapnel go through it. Other than that, like, cam bearings were mint. Rod bearings were in really good shape, and the mains maybe just a little bit of wear. Don't know if that's because of crank flex or maybe, I wouldn't think that from detonation, but who knows? Probably just shrapnel going through the motor because there is definitely a ton of it. I'm going to talk to some engine experts and see what they think of these rods. Anyone who knows anything about that, if any of them little tiny just looks like almost just metal spots on there, maybe no material loss, but I assume all these rods would still be good aside from the ones that I have suspect to be bent, but I will take those ones apart and check them. Other than that, I appreciate all for watching. Hopefully a couple days, the motor that I was going to run for sick week after this one blew up will be coming out. And I'll be ordering bearings and everything to freshen that guy up. And then I will be bringing the new motor to the machine shop to get cleaned up. So we're making good headway for only being home for a few hours. Thanks for watching, y'all. I hope to come back fierce. We'll see you next time.